Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session with HPE's Chief Security Officer, Bobby Ford. We're here today to talk about questions and concerns around security, especially in the context of the recently launched Data Services Cloud Console. So, Bobby, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So glad to be here with you today, Ashish. I am a cybersecurity professional. I've been in the industry now for over 20 years. I lead our global security team here at HPE. Prior to that, I was with Unilever, a fast moving consumer goods company out of London. And before that, I was the global CISO for Abbott Labs, life sciences organization based out of Chicago.
It sounds like you speak often with industry leaders and with our customers. So, what are you hearing, and what are some of the hot topics?
Yes, I do speak often with not just our customers, which because you have to remember, I've been in cyber for so long that before they were my customers, these were my peers and these are my colleagues. And in security, it's important that you maintain those relationships so that you can gather that intelligence, so that you can engage in information sharing, because ultimately we're all going against the same adversary. And what you try to pick up is different themes from various industries. And I can tell you right now, the themes that I keep hearing, the two top of mind areas would be one around supply chain attacks, because it's not just enough to have your organization secure. It's important that the organizations that you're connected with, that the organizations that you're reliant upon, that they're also secure. So one would be supply chain attacks. And then two would be ransomware attacks. Whether you listen to the news, you read the news, you watch the news, I think that we've all seen this just massive, like this bombardment every day with various ransomware attacks. And what's interesting is that it's not necessarily that ransomware attacks are going up, because I think we've seen them in the industry for a while. I just think that they're being reported more. And because they're being reported more, there's more awareness around them.
As our sellers and partners talk to customers, especially about the recent announcement, specifically HP Alletra and Data Services Cloud Console, what security questions are they likely to hear?
Yes. So cyber isn't just what I talk about, right? It's what I actually do. It's my day job. It's why I was brought on board here at HPE to maintain security from a physical perspective and from a cyber perspective. And I can tell you that whenever I'm engaging with providers, there are three questions that I tend to ask. The first question that I ask is the platform secure? I like to know what the provider did in the design of the platform to make sure that it's secure. I'd like to know what features are available, what features can I implement, what features can I deploy, so that I can rest assured that the platform is secure. So first question that I ask is the platform secure? The second question I ask is the connection secure? Going back to what I said previously around supply chain attacks being top of mind, I want to know that these organizations that I rely upon, I want to know that my connection to them is secure. And then the third question that I ask is, what is the organization doing to ensure that security is maintained throughout the life cycle of my engagement with them? Because I often say that security isn't just a destination, but it's more about a journey. And so you can't just tell me once that the platform is secure. You can't just tell me once that the connection is secure. I have to know that you've deployed and that you've implemented a program to maintain the security of the platform and the connection.
Bobby, that's very consistent with questions that we've been hearing about Data Services Cloud Console. How would you advise our sellers and partners to respond to these queries? What are the top points that you would like them to emphasize?
Yeah, thanks, Ashish. I would go right back to those questions that I ask, and I would encourage them to come prepared to respond to those three questions. So if you look at the first question, is the platform secure? Absolutely. When you think about the way that we've designed it, it's been designed with security in mind. That security was not an afterthought, it wasn't a bolt on, but that we've designed it with security in mind. When we talk about role based access control, or when we talk about the audit feature that allows you to actually have a single pane of glass to view all the activity that's taking place there, it's been designed securely. So, number one, is the platform secure? Absolutely. Number two, is the connection secure? There again, we can talk about HPE will never initiate a connection into your environment, that the connection will have to be initiated by you using trusted ports, secure ports. So you won't have to open up any new ports. You won't have to deal with any vulnerabilities associated with opening up those new ports, but you can use established ports that you already use that are secure. And then the traffic that goes through that secure tunnel is encrypted. So number one, is the platform secure? Yes. Number two, is the connection secure? Yes. And then number three, what is HPE doing in order to maintain the security of the platform and the connection? Here we have a dedicated team of individuals who don't just sort of do a one and done, but that they're constantly testing. We use third parties also who come in and they test the platform and they test the connectivity to ensure that they maintain security. So it's yes, and we are absolutely dedicated to working and maintaining the security of the platform and the connection.
How does the role of security change now that we're operating as a service in a hybrid cloud world?
Ashish, I think that's a brilliant question. And the reason that's a brilliant question is because when you shift from um, being a products organization to becoming more of a services organization, you recognize that security becomes a shared responsibility. And it's important that for the trust of that engagement and the trust of that relationship to be maintained throughout, that you have to understand where the lines are drawn. And that if there is a compromise, if there is an incident, if there is a quote unquote breach, that it doesn't impact just one organization, but that it impacts both organizations. And so you have to maintain constant communication. You have to make sure that both organizations are stepping up to the plate and doing what they have to do and what they need to do in order to maintain the security of the entire engagement, to maintain the security of the entire relationship, because you truly are reliant and you truly are dependent upon each other.
That's great, Bobby. That's great information. And I agree 100%. What does that actually mean for our partners and our sellers?
So what that means for the sellers is that they have to understand what HPE is doing for security, right? And that they have to understand the seriousness and they have to understand the security program of HPE, because again, it talks about trust, right? And when we talk about trust, the only way you can get to trust and the only way you can maintain trust is through transparency. And so they have to be able to speak to the program that we've deployed and the program that we have implemented within HPE to maintain the security of our environment and to maintain the security of our products and then to maintain the security of our services. And so if you look at my responsibilities, I break them up into three pillars. You have cyber as an IT enterprise, which is basically internal cybersecurity. How do we maintain the security of our networks? How do we maintain the security of our data and our devices? Then you have product cybersecurity, and those are the products that we sell that sit in their environments, that sit on-prem for our customers. Then we have as a service cybersecurity, and this is where we get into that hybrid world of shared responsibilities.
I wanted to touch on another question. Our sellers and partners get a lot of questions around cyber attacks. Could you comment on what HPE is doing to protect itself and its customers from cyber attacks?
Yes, and thanks for asking this question, Ashish. I get excited talking about the cyber program that we have here at HPE. I think it'll come as a shock to no one that we've broken up our program, our framework for addressing cyber into three categories. And the questions that we're trying to answer are: what are we doing to prevent attacks from occurring? What do we have deployed to detect them if they do? And then how are we equipped to respond if they do? And when you look at those three different areas, for me, we break them up into technical controls and then administrative controls. And the technical controls are what solutions, what tools have you done and deployed, what solutions have you deployed, I should say, to prevent, detect, and respond. And then when we talk about administrative controls, that are what are the policies that you have? What are the guidelines that you have? What are the standards that you have that you're testing to prevent, detect, and respond? And so that's the approach that we take. It's a multi-layered approach, and we're extremely excited about that approach. But ultimately, for me, what it gets down to is the people, right? The hands behind the keyboards. And I've been fortunate to work for a number of organizations, and I can tell you with certainty that I've never worked for an organization that has the relentless focus on talent management that HPE does. And I say that to say that when we think about our cybersecurity team, that we have some of the best, some of the most brilliant, some of the brightest cyber minds right now deployed at HPE that are, navigating that program, that are leading that program, steering that program to ensure that HPE remains secure.
Thanks so much, Bobby. Any final tips or words of wisdom as our partners and sellers talk security with their customers?
Yeah, thanks, Ashish. I've enjoyed the conversation. And so I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to provide some tips and some words of wisdom. Here's what I'd say. I'd say that if you haven't had conversations with the customers about security, then I would be proactive and I would engage in those conversations. I would start those conversations. And the reason why you want to do that is because by engaging in those conversations, it establishes trust. And ultimately, when we think about our relationships, we got to be honest, right? That they're all about trust. And that is what security is all about. Security is all about trust. So I would engage in those conversations because it establishes trust. And I would talk about security. And when I talk about security with them, I will talk about, number one, the security of HPE, how we approach cyber and what programs we have in place to maintain the security of our data, of our devices, and of our services and our offerings. Then I would talk about the security of Data Services Cloud Console. And in particular, I would, re-emphasize to them that not only did we design it securely, but that we have in place controls to maintain the security and that we're constantly evaluating, that we're constantly testing the security of those connections and testing the security of the platform. And it's not just with Data Services Cloud Console, but it's with all of our products. It's with all of our offerings. We're constantly monitoring, checking, and doing validation testing to make sure that we don't violate and that we don't compromise the trust that we've established and that you've gifted us with.
Well, that was great, Bobby. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me about security, and particularly in the context of Data Services Cloud Console and Alletra. These are key questions that our partners and sellers and their customers will have. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this video with me. Thank you once again.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, Ashish. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I get excited talking about the security of, our enterprise. I get excited talking about the security of our products. I get excited talking about the security of our offering and our services. So it's truly been a pleasure for me. So thanks for having me and thanks for allowing me to take a part in this conversation.